Welcome to She Lancer, Mom Entrepreneur with VoiceOver Angela. I'm your host, Angela. I'm a full-time voiceover artist and audiobook narrator, and this podcast are the audio versions of my live Q&A chats on YouTube. If you'd like to be part of the live Q&A chats, come on over to my YouTube channel, VoiceOver Angela. I'm live every Tuesday at 12 p.m. EST. We talk about voiceover, the business of voiceover, audiobooks, and so much more. Find more information on my website, voiceoverangela.com. Enjoy today's episode. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Thanks for joining me again for another live Q&A session here on my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Angela. I'm a full-time voiceover artist and audiobook narrator, and my channel is dedicated to those of you just getting started in this wonderful world of voiceover and audiobook narration. And through my channel, I share with you tips, tricks, techniques, things that I do every day in my own voiceover business, and then we get together in these weekly chats to talk about a topic or two. We'll see how it goes. We might go left. But anywho, if you're not new here, then you know every week we have a new poll. And today we're talking about dual and duet narration. So today's poll is, have you ever recorded a dual or duet narration? And we're talking about audiobooks. There's also like full cast audiobooks as well, but today we're going to focus on just two narrators, whether it be dual or duet. So far we have about 16 votes. Looks like 6% of you said yes, you've done a duet. 12% of you said a dual. 69% of you said not yet, but interested. 12% said not sure what the difference is. Okay, sweet. So the purpose of these talks is to sort of demystify these things and to explain what they are so you guys are better prepared just coming into this industry. So that is the whole purpose of these weekly chats. So if you have questions, there's no such thing as a dumb question. If you have a question about something, please put it in the chat. Again, that's why I do these things. That's why I'm here every Tuesday to help you move forward within this industry. So you're better educated, prepared, equipped, so on and so forth. I have a presentation for you. So first, let's take that off, and then we're going to go to my little presentation. So dual versus duet audiobooks. So what's the difference between the two? Well, a duet is basically two narrators working together. So if you picture just about any fiction novel out there where you've got the female lead and the male lead and then also additional surrounding characters, right? Usually in a duet, you'll have the male narrator narrate the main male and all of the other characters all throughout the book, and the female takes care of the female side, right? The female voices and all the other characters all throughout the book, right? All through each chapter. Which, as you can see, creates a dynamic conversational, if I can say it, an immersive audio experience. Dual narration is usually when you have a fiction book that's got alternating chapters of different points of view. So essentially, let's just say chapter 1 is from the female lead's point of view. So the female narrator is going to tackle that entire chapter. Even the male voice dialogue, even the male character dialogue, because it's from her point of view. So she's going to tackle all of that POV. So it's usually alternating chapters, her point of view, his point of view. So there is quite a difference between the two. Now, these are questions I get a lot about the setup and the prep behind the audiobook narration dual and duet. And I'm sure, yep, Caesar's here. I just wanted to check. But Caesar has been volunteering to teach the technicals behind dual and duet narration, because not only has he narrated them, but he's also produced and directed them. And he's been teaching those to my Platinum group members, which is fantastic. Thank you for doing that, Caesar. I really appreciate that. Just wanted to shout that out. But typically, and I'm sure he's going to have some things to add to my presentation here as we go along, but these are just the basics, essentially. There's going to be some variables for different situations, but basically this is just the bare minimum setup. Now, for best results, I recommend that if you're going to be doing a duet or a dual narration, you're going to have a much better result if you can work with that other narrator. You want to meet up at least, I mean, if you're doing like a duel, you could probably get away with meeting up just to make sure that the voices that you've chosen, or like the cadence of the characters' voices matches, right? Perhaps. But for a duet narration, you definitely want to do these live together so you can bounce off each other and play off of each other's emotions. You'll have a much better result. And you can meet up via Zoom, Google Meet, Discord, if you guys are in the same server, however you want to do it. I don't know why I'm so froggy this morning. I've been narrating all morning. Maybe that's why. Keep the file naming consistent across, so that way whomever is chosen to put all of these files together, because it will be more than likely one of you, can keep track of the files and what is what and who is who later. Decide who will be the post producer or mix the final files together. Establish one price for the rights holder. So the rights holder isn't privy to all of the stuff in the background, right? They're not really, unless you want to involve them, that's fine. But basically the rights holder is going to see one final price for the project. You and the other narrator are going to figure out, well, who's going to post-produce, how many words are you narrating versus how many words am I narrating, and then you two can settle on a price or which chunks of that price that you will receive. Be sure that you trust and you feel comfortable with your narrator partner. That is a big one, I think, because especially if you're doing romance or something like that, you want to make sure that you feel comfortable with this person so you can really let go and allow yourself to get into those emotional scenes, right? Even if there's like intimacy involved and things, you want to make sure that you can get to that place, if that makes sense. Just a little bit more on remote collaboration. If you're working as a dual and not duet, as I said before, you want to meet up and make sure that you have the right kind of tone and cadence for the different characters as you're reading through them. You can use cloud storage, like a shared Google Drive folder, to share files with each other. That way they can use those files as reference for cadence and tone. Or, of course, whomever is post-producing or mixing all the files together has access to all of those files. It just makes it easier to collaborate that way. Communicate deadlines and pickups clearly. That way everybody's on the same page. It becomes especially important if you're on completely different time zones, right? If someone's like 9 hours ahead of you in a different part of the world, you want to make sure that we have deadlines and timings, meetup times. All of that stuff is spelled out clearly. You can record together live, but each narrator is going to be recording locally on their own computer in their own DAW. So it doesn't matter what kind of audio quality, whatever streaming, service you use, if it's Zoom or Google, even if the internet is spotty and all, none of that really matters, because you're going to be recording locally on your DAW, your side. And the other person's going to be recording locally on their computer through their DAW. And then those files will be uploaded to that collaborative drive link later. So don't worry too much about the internet connection. Editing and mastering. So again, someone is going to be mixing all these files together to make sure that the room tone, that they are ACX compliant, all of those things. And then also, if it is a duet, there's a lot more involved because you're having to essentially splice in sections of the other person's speech in with yours. It does take a lot of time. It takes a lot more time to produce a duet versus a dual. As you can imagine, that editing time in and of itself is quite the bear. So keep that in mind. Matching room tone, ACX requirements. Yes. So the person doing the post-production should have the ACX standards pretty much down. And if that's not you, then maybe we should make sure your narrator friend, your partner, is the one that is ACX savvy. If not, you might have to consider hiring someone to help you with the post-production, and that is an additional cost that you'll have to figure into the pricing. So all of these things I want you to be aware of so you can effectively price this project if you're going into it for the first time. And then the final one, again, the pricing strategies. You're charging one per finished hour. I think I typed that in wrong, but you're charging one final price to the rights holder, whatever that is. So if that includes usually a larger per finished hour rate. Now, again, as I've said before, industry standard for a normal one-person audiobook is $250 per finished hour. Now, if we're talking dual or duet, especially with duet, as we've said, there's a lot more involved, a lot more time and effort involved in a duet. So that per finished hour rate is more than likely going to be even higher. I would even dare to say in some instances it could be as high as maybe 400 per finished hour, maybe even 5. So because there is so much work involved in that. One of you is going to be the post-producer. That person is probably going to get a larger chunk of that finished fee for obvious reasons. If there are additional pickups requested by the rights holder, there will be extra charges for that. But that's kind of at your discretion, right? But that is something that you can do. One question I get a lot is royalty share for dual and duet narration. Now, on sites like ACX, where one rights holder will reach out to one narrator, there really isn't a way to split royalty share on these platforms. So your best bet, especially with the work that's involved with these kinds of projects, I wouldn't even consider royalty share. I would just stick with per finished hour rate, because if you spend, let's just say if there was a way and you did royalty share, the amount of work involved in these kinds of projects, you may never recover that time with a royalty share. But if you do somehow do royalty share, and then maybe you send the other person a check, for their share of the royalties, you could do that. I mean, you would really have to know and trust the person, right, to send you monthly checks for 7 years, right? So I would just stick with per finished hour, but that's just me. But again, these are just the basic things to be aware of for these kinds of projects. If you have questions about anything specific, please feel free to ask. Again, there is no such thing as a dumb question. So if you have questions, please ask them. Let me grab some water really quick, and then I'll go to the comments. All right, we had some people in here like midnight, just past midnight, my time. Venusto Edits. Hey, what you doing up so late or early? And another one. Hi, Crystal Clean. How you doing? Good morning. And then we had Abe in here at 5:30 my time. Good morning from sunny Nashville. For dual and duet narration, may your noise floor room tone match your partners. May your pay be equal and your schedules sync for easy collaboration. Yeah, those are definitely factors to consider in partnering with someone for these kinds of projects. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of variables, and it takes a lot of time. Abe says, I have a dual MMC scheduled to be done in May of next year, but I feel bad because the MFC has already recorded all her chapters and she's waiting on me to get paid. It's royalty share. Interesting. Do you just have a lot of work on your schedule? So she's already got everything done and you're not going to do your end until May of next year. Am I understanding that right? Oh, you answered that question. May is the earliest I can get to it. But rights holder is willing to wait. Got it. I mean, hey, your schedule is your schedule. You know, it is what it is. And if the other narrator was aware that you couldn't get to it until May, then, you know, that's what it is. If they, you know, were aware and acknowledged and agreed. Caesar says, oh, hi, Angela. I've actually done both. Both are fun. I've also been on the production side of both duels and duets. Duets are a beast and benefit from in-depth pre-production discussions to match tone. Yes, they do. Duets can also benefit greatly from having a director on board, as duets are meant to sound natural and immersive, like you're there. Proximity, gain writing, and/or compression become important as you whisper and shout between scenes of intimacy and anger. It presents a challenge to the narrators, the director, if one is on board, and the producer, which is why duets are expensive. But if any of you have, and if you don't listen to audiobooks and you want to be an audiobook narrator, or if you are a beginner audiobook narrator, if I can say it, I do recommend you yourself should listen to audiobooks of all kinds. Nonfiction, fiction, cookbooks, duels, duets, like full cast, you know, dramatized audiobooks. Listen to them all. You learn so much just by actively listening, by paying attention to how things are said, you know, subtle shifts, things like that. You could pick up a lot just by listening. That said, hello everyone. Hello, Caesar. I've been very happy with Angela's and Anthony's Launchpad so far. Very fun workshops, great banter, an excellent opportunity to learn new things and hone new skills. Yes, if you've been watching for a while, my Platinum group, we joined forces with Avio's Journeys at the Anthony's Academy, and Platinum is now Launchpad. So we are part of the Academy in one of their membership tiers. Actually, with any of the membership tiers, you get access to Launchpad. So come and join us. We have meetings every Thursday night. We try and gamify all of our meetings so we have fun. Adult beverages are recommended as well. You know, it's not like a clinical kind of everybody comes and has fun. We're all dressing up again for the Halloween Spooktacular this year. We do it every year. We all come in costumes, so that'll be fun. Just giving y'all a heads up. Caesar says, if you're interested in joining, there's a link in the description of this video to join us. Caesar says, I've also been surviving another super typhoon. Yeah, I saw that. That's crazy. Thankfully, not as destructive as the last one, just noisy and annoying and wet. My family's up here to shelter from flood zones in the city, so yay. And I also saw that spider that you had kicking it on your car. Did you get a new car? Abe says, I've done dual narration, but not duet yet. Good. I like the yet. Not yet. Paul says, good morning, Miss Angela. Good morning to you, Mr. Paul. How are you? Life Unleashed says, good morning. Good day, Angela and all. Happy to be here for another live. Good. I'm glad you're here. Pam hopes that your mics have survived the humidity, Caesar. I remember that last one. You had to put like a humidifier. Or a dehumidifier, rather, in your studio. How did they fare, Caesar? Gia says, good morning, afternoon, Angela and everyone. Good morning to you, Gia. Rebecca's here. Hey, Rebecca. Good afternoon, all. I would absolutely love to be hired to do a dual or duet audiobook. I've been hosting a duet workshop in Launchpad for a few weeks, and it's been awesome so far. Yeah, I'm so glad you guys are doing that because there is a whole lot more involved with dual and duet narration. You know, one thing we didn't talk about is how do you find this kind of work? You can find some on ACX, but there really isn't a way to filter it as such. Like there isn't an option to select for the rights holder or the narrator to find just specifically these kinds of books. You sort of have to just go through, the available audition listings and see, usually in the author's notes or notes from the author or, in the book blurb, something about, in the text that's provided for the audition, they'll say, I'm looking for a dual or a duet sort of a narration. I do see a whole lot more of them than I used to, but there isn't a way to really filter exactly for that. So you just sort of have to go through them. And you can find them that way. I also want to touch on how do you find a partner if that's what you're doing. If you're going through ACX and you find that they want a dual or duet, I'll touch on that in a second. I don't want to forget it. Another way to find this kind of work is to market yourself on social media. Authors, indie publishers, all of those individuals are all also on social media. So you want to make it known. So if you have, let's just say you have a partner in mind for a dual or a duet narration, someone that you work fantastically with. And immediately Rebecca and Caesar come to mind. But if you had a partner in mind, you two should record yourselves, do a quick Zoom or something on Discord or something and record it and then use that as a social media post. The two of you recording like a sample demo. Right? A video demo or even an audio demo. If you've done something before, post that on social media, tag the other person and put that out there. I mean, make it known that you do this and that you're good at it and you sound good together. Right? With my Platinum group and Launchpad, we have actually Platinum. There really isn't a way to do it on Launchpad yet, but we'll figure that out. We have indicators or badges that we can, roles, that's what it is, that's what the term is for Discord, that we can add to each user to easily distinguish who is available for duet or dual narration. So you can go into the thread and go, okay, I've got this book, who's available? And then they can send demos if they're available, and then you can send those demos to the rights holder and see which one they like best or however you want to do it. But again, another big important reason why you should be in groups, be available in Discord, be with your peers, be with your friends, find voiceover audiobook groups, right? You want to have this not only for the mental and, the mental support and the technical support and the camaraderie, but also to find other narrators that are available to do these kinds of things with that you trust and know. So get out there. and be part of groups. I totally skipped your comment, Rebecca. I just went. Oh, did I? No, I think I did. I think I read it. Did I read it? Oh, God. I'm sorry if I didn't, Rebecca. My brain says I did. Caesar says to Pam, let's not jinx it, but they seem to be doing quite well. I have a dehumidifier and dry box storage in my studio. Yeah, I thought you said you did. Masonry Construction says, no interest would have been my choice, but not available. It's not everybody's bag. I mean, it's a lot of work. You'd have to have some time for a dual and duet. And not everybody just, doesn't have that time. I get it. Contia says, hello. Happy to be back here. Tough schedule lately. Only 30 minutes, unfortunately, but great topic today. Well, I'm glad you could spend 30 minutes with us. I'll take 5. I'll take 1. If you just want to pop in and say hi, that's cool too. Of course, all the things all the YouTubey things help, and not only that, but you might just catch something that, answers the question you had. Janelle says, hi, Angela. Hi, everyone. I've done both dual and duet. There was a good amount of coordination, but I really like both experiences. Thanks for covering this. Absolutely. Eric Grams, We got a lot of Launchpad peeps in the chat today. How you doing, Eric? Hi, Angela and A-Team. I did a dual narration with my daughter. I did the editing. I've auditioned for a few duet, including one this morning. Really hoping to land some. So much talent in your group. Yes, we have a lot of talent. Caesar says, very good presentation. Why, thank you. It's not as good as yours. When it comes to duets, room tone and noise floor are the least of your worries. Standard procedure is to scrub noise floor entirely and integrate a unified noise floor. Yes. I get that. But I think I brought up noise floor because that is a concern for most people. That's usually a question that I get. And most of the people that I work with, like on a one-on-one basis when I mentor them, that's usually one of the main concerns is noise floor. So, and as you know, trying to remove that effectively is an issue. So, you know, if noise floor is effectively addressed before you even start, that could definitely help the post-production process. Eric says, Rebecca's workshop was amazing, very worthwhile. Alicia says, hi, everyone. Hello. Rebecca says, Eric, thank you. Hope to see you there tomorrow. Caesar says, both talents have to have either matched or very transparent sounding equipment. If one talent has analog or a more colored, vibey sound and another has something cleaner, it'll definitely stand out. Yes, which is another reason why you should meet up with your partner before you even start recording. So if the person that is going to be doing the post-production end of it, usually that person will be a little bit more audio savvy and could give you some tips as the non-producer partner to perhaps clean up your sound, improve your effects, mic positioning, work on your proximity, things like that, just to get the two different sounds to match a little bit more effectively. Because as we always say, there are so many variables in voiceover in terms of, you know, individual artists, from space to space, equipment to equipment, voice tone, room, shape, right? There are so many different variables to consider. Which microphone they use, right, to be specific. So meeting together with your partner first to get maybe, I mean, even in some instances, maybe even a different microphone, or to at least position it a different way. I'm going way too far into the weeds here. But that other person can probably help quite a bit with your sound, too, if need be. Abe says, on my dual narration, I was paid a hefty per finished hour while the other narrator did all the editing and was paid royalty share. Interesting. Yeah, so, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because it can be broken down that way. So let's just say if you come across a duet or dual narration on ACX and it's an unspecified per finished hour rate, or the author is wanting to do royalty share, you can explain to them, you know, I'll take the royalty share for my end of the payment, but the other person is going to be doing all the post-production, is the other narrator, so they need to have this flat fee. So this flat fee will go to them, and then I will collect royalties with you, right? Because there isn't a way to effectively split royalties to two different narrators, to three different people effectively, right? So however you can make it work, right? There isn't really a one way to do this. I'm glad you brought that up, Abe. Caesar says, imagine duet cookbooks. You pour the salt. No, you pour the salt. It would be funny. We should do one of those just because it's funny. Joy says, good morning from sunny Southfield, Michigan. I've never had the opportunity to do a duet for an audiobook, but I'm very interested in doing duet. I did try out for one, but I fell on my face. I doubt that you did, Joy. Stop being so hard on yourself. Stop being so hard on yourself, Joy. It's not allowed. No stinking thinking. You know this. Put you in timeout. Caesar says, regarding humidity, yes, that was a massive crisis in the studio. Every single one of my mics started dying. Fortunately, I now very strict humidity control in the studio now. I'm with you. Terrell says, good morning. What time do your Tuesday morning live feed start? 12 noon EST. 12 p.m. EST every Tuesday. Caesar says to Joy, a good idea is to submit raw and assign production responsibilities to someone who is more experienced. That said, let me know if Zoom is cooperating or if you have a new laptop in hand. Gia says, I just joined Launchpad last week. Yay. And looking forward to jumping in on Thursdays. I'm definitely interested in Duet and Duels. Love all the awesome content and have learned so much. Well, good. I'm so glad. Thank you for that. You just made my day, Gia. Voiceover Van Deen says, afternoon all. Got you guys playing in the background as I prep our tea. I also run a dehumidifier. Why am I having such a hard time with that word? Dehumidifier. After finding moisture accumulating behind the sound panels that blank off the window. Oh no. Oh no. Fitness Frank says, good to catch you live. Thanks for joining, Fitness Frank. Joy says to Caesar, hello. I'm still working on getting the new laptop, but Zoom is working a lot better after I took the old laptop to the Geek Squad for a tune-up. That's funny. Voiceover Van Deen says, afternoon all. I, too, run a dehumidifier in the studio during spring, autumn, and winter, and finding moisture accumulating behind the acoustic panels that blank off the window. Worth checking. Yeah, that is definitely something that everybody should probably look into. It did get pretty humid here in the desert, and we had just a throng of storms over the last week or two. But I don't think it got that humid. So I don't know if it's very dry here, obviously, in the desert, but you never know. So it's definitely worth checking for sure. For sure. All right. That's all the questions that we have right now. So if you have questions, ask away. Ask away about dual and duet narration. Is there anything that we didn't touch on? Let me just look at my notes here really quick. Pacing, matching EQ. Oh, contracts. We could talk about contracts. Just so you guys know, if you're looking for an audiobook production contract, if you go to ACX, there, I want to say it's at the bottom in legal. I'm trying to picture it in my head. Should probably actually just check, to tell you guys exactly where to go. But there are editable contracts on ACX available for you to download. And then you can change, of course, put your name in it. Then you can add the partner's name and their part in it. And then, if you have a need for an audiobook contract, there are some available on ACX that are editable. Let's see if I can pull that up really quick for you guys. Where exactly to go. So if I remember correctly, if I go, let's go to go to ACX, let's go to the bottom, conditions, cookies. Where is the main page? Help. I'm going to the help page. Scrolling down, all topics, legal resources, audiobook production, royalties and terms. I know there is one on here. Standard terms, account holder agreement, posting agreement, there we go, independent contractor agreements. So let me go to this page really quick and show you guys. Actually, let's take this comment off so you guys can see what I'm looking at. Let's remove that. And then we're going to Whoop, stop screen share. Let's go to a different. Let's see, home. I'm pretty sure this is where I was. Okay, so basically all I did was I went to the ACX home page, and then I scrolled down to the bottom and went to legal resources. And then once you click that page, you go to independent contractor agreements. You click that, then let's see if it'll stop. There we go. Let's see, is it showing the right page? Yes, it is. I know it. StreamYard sometimes doesn't keep up with me. And then you can pick one of these different contract agreements for either just editing, engineering, narration services, and click one of these, and then you can edit it to suit your needs. It's good to have on file, you know. Even if you're good at post-production yourself, you could download all of them, and then you can have different contracts available for different needs. All right, let's go back to the comments. Now where did I leave off? Here we go. Caesar says, something to keep in mind, microphones are actually like sponges. Yeah, so you definitely want to be cognizant of humidity in your studio, or the possibility of. Voiceover Van Deen says, by the way, any Audible folks, Louis Rossman has dropped a video telling of a class action lawsuit taken out against Audible. Not watched it yet, so not sure if it will affect VOs. Interesting. We'll have to go and check that out. Is it on YouTube, I'm guessing? Dylan says, do people audition for duets as pairs or just a single reading one set of lines? You could probably submit either way, but if it's going to be duet, probably submit the narration together, so the author can hear the final. Because it's one thing to hear the voices separately and go, oh yeah, I love her voice and I love his voice. But it's much more effective, of course, especially for duet. If you're going to be narrating the book together, you should audition together so they can hear what the final result would sound like, right? That's what I would do. Caesar says, oh, have we got a Launchpad Zoom workshop date for when we can discuss duet production? I want to say yes. I posted the October schedule for Launchpad already on the Launchpad homepage. I want to say that I do. Hang on, do I have it handy? For October, it looks like we're talking about... Oh, we're doing Duet Roulette on, not this Thursday, but next Thursday, but we're not doing like a workshop. But we should definitely talk about one upcoming for sure. And of course, you and Rebecca are welcome to join in again. Yes. Abe says, if you're running central AC, that's a dehumidifier. So unless you have a big problem like the sound panels, you should be okay. Speaking of AC, it's hot in here. Why are you not turning on? Voiceover Van Deen says, to Abe, AC isn't really that common here in the UK, and it isn't a lot on the West Coast either. Like in California and some of the places, some of the homes that I was either visiting or stayed in, like Airbnbs and things like that, no AC. The moisture was condensing on the window and the back of the panels due to the colder temperatures back there once we got out of summer. Oof. Rustic Hillbilly. Mernon. Late again. That's okay. I hope you brought donuts. If you're late, you bring donuts. Trent Porter says, good afternoon, everyone. I am just getting into the space of voice acting. I actually received an offer on ACX. Good for you. Not so confident about delivering the best project. Okay, first, you need to get rid of that I understand where you're at. I was there. I think anyone starting an audiobook for the first time was in that exact same place. The confidence is just not there yet because there are so many unknowns. You haven't done it yet. You haven't done the start through finish before of an audiobook project. So it's completely understandable. But you need to look at it as, I haven't done this yet, but I'm going to learn so much as I go through this project. And I will, at the end, I will have so much more confidence for the next one. So don't let it freak you out. Don't let it intimidate you. Just understand that you've never done it before, but you're doing it now, and that you should be excited about learning all of these new things. Just make sure that you have probably a little bit more time than you need so you can go through all of these steps, start to finish with a little extra time so that it takes some of the time pressure off of you. But this is an exciting time. You should be excited. Don't let the I don't know what I'm doing stop you, because you are learning. You're on the precipice of learning a fantastic new skill. And to learn it, you got to go through it. So go through it with positivity and excitement. You got this, Trent. If me and, at least half of the other people watching never did it, they wouldn't be where they are now. Katya says, unfortunately, I have to run now. We'll watch the rest of the recording tonight. See you all. Bye, Katya. Thanks for stopping by. Spicy Caesar says, depending on where you live, humidity can potentially climb up to 100% outdoors, especially during the evenings. That's where dehumidifiers become important, especially for recording spaces. Andrew's here. Hey, Andrew. For an ACX project that has a bunch of male and female characters, would it be advisable to suggest to the rights holder that the book could be done as a duet? Of course. Of course. Especially for you, Andrew, because you have... How many people are in Launchpad? Like 200 and something? You've got a whole roster of people that you can do this with. So, you've got the backing. I would definitely suggest it. If they've got a fiction book with a bunch of different characters in it, and you think it would make a better end result for the client, of course, suggest it. But tell them up front, depending if they're looking at royalty share, if they're looking at, whatever it is that they're expecting as the pay type, you might let them know that it would be, probably around this X amount of dollars, so they have an idea. But definitely suggest it, for sure. Joy says, is there any way to let other VOs or author know that I would be interested in doing duets if they like my voice on platforms like Fiverr? Unfortunately, there is not. Buyer-to-buyer solicitation is frowned upon on Fiverr. So as a voice actor, you shouldn't reach out to other voice actors and say, hey, give me a job or that kind of thing. Although they do have a feature now that you can recommend another freelancer or refer another freelancer. But the solicitation of, hey, give me work, essentially, is frowned upon. So perhaps if you framed it as, hey, nice to meet you, I am a fellow, me personally, I wouldn't chance it, right? But that's why we sort of stick to just our Discord group of, adding a role to a person who is open to that. So they're easy to find that way. And then if you can get their Fiverr username, then maybe you can do, I don't know. But I don't know. I wouldn't do it on Fiverr. Not on Fiverr. That's just what my gut says. Eric Grimes says, when submitting a dual narration and wanting to work with a particular partner, do you each submit individually and mention the other person? What's the best course of action? I guess it depends on what platform we're talking about. If we're talking about ACX, I think ultimately it's going to come down to one person is paid, right? Because when a contract is started on ACX, it involves one other person. If the rights holder is initiating a contract, only one other person can be included. So that one person is sort of going to be the main contact for the whole project. And then whoever the partner is going to be, dealt with by that project lead narrator. So if you're going to audition as a dual or duet, I would audition together on one through whoever the lead is, through their profile. That's what I would do. That way the other person isn't sort of lost in the sauce, right? You're both together in one place. Dylan says, itchy ankle. If I don't have a partner, can I submit my audition as a single, or is it like a swingers party where you must bring a partner? If you don't have a partner, then submit as a single and say, hey, I'm open to, your suggestion or whomever you like for the other person. I mean, you could do that too, but keep in mind again that there's only one other name slot, as far as I know, on an ACX contract. So one person is going to have to be the lead. So I would much rather that person be someone I know, and trust, versus, someone I've never met before. And can I trust them to split equally with me if they're the lead? You know what I mean? So I would much rather that I bring someone with me that I know and trust. Caesar says, let's have one for November. We can plan the structure. All right. I'm down. Voiceover Van Deen says, yeah, Louis Rossmann has a YouTube channel under his own name and 2.44 million subs. He's a big voice in the consume rights and right to repair circles. That's interesting. I haven't heard of a class action yet. I'll look into that. Caesar says, love Louis Rossmann's channel. I don't even know if I'm saying his name right. Is it Louis or Louis? I'm just used to Louis, I suppose. I live under a rock, apparently. So, I'm writing down his name. I'm going to check him out. He's quite the character. He puts brutal in brutally honest, also has nice microphones. He often uses a Blue Microphones Blueberry, classic boutique condenser mic. Thank you, Andrew. Caesar says, to Eric Grimes, depends on the platform. When I auditioned for Royal Guard's publishing roster, it was posted on ACX. I submitted a duet file and mentioned that I was auditioning alongside my co-narrator. Package deal. Joy says, no problemo. I wouldn't want to tick off the Fiverr gods before I even start working on the platform. Yeah, I would just err on the side of caution when it comes to Fiverr. Because they have specific terms of service and rules, and the messages there are filtered. So, and that even goes for those of you that watch me and want to reach out to me on my website. Don't reach out to me on Fiverr, because Fiverr is a business platform. It is not a social media platform where we can just chat like on Discord or something like that. That doesn't do any of us either any good. And if you end up saying the wrong thing and those messages, again, are filtered, then it could be, especially now that Fiverr's replaced most of their staff with AI, that if something is taken the wrong way, and then we end up both getting banned and blocked, right? So my brain says keep business only business on Fiverr. Please don't reach out to me on Fiverr and say, hey, I saw you on Instagram, and you know what I mean? Because that might tell the AI filters the wrong thing. So reach out to me on my website if you want to reach out to me, or leave comments here on YouTube. Either way, I'll see them. But keep business on Fiverr. Caesar says Louis because Vampire Chronicles, I imagine. Voiceover Van Deen says to Dylan, actually LOL'd at your swingers party analogy. Trent says, my apologies for getting personal, but due to financial constraints, I'm recording on my phone without a mic. Any suggestions about free apps that could help me in delivering an amazing project? I totally get the financial constraints. I totally do, Trent. But in order to move ahead and to be successful, you will need equipment. You will need equipment. Narrating off your phone is going, it's not going to be, you're not going to get the quality that you need for audiobook production. And there is Audacity that you could use that's free, but I would just use a computer, get an external mic. It doesn't have to be thousands of dollars worth of equipment. You could start relatively cheaply, right? A secondhand microphone, right? Treat your space that you choose to record in is the most important factor, right? $20 mic versus a $1,000 mic. That $1,000 mic is going to show your bad sounding room to be horrible sounding, where the $20 mic might even give you a little bit of leeway in that bad sounding room. But either way, your room's going to sound bad if it's not treated. So I would take the time to choose a space that you're going to record in, not use your phone. That is a myth. That is a social media clickbait. You cannot get far with using your phone. Invest in the equipment. You'll get much further faster. Is my advice. Taking a look at the poll again really quickly, because I always forget to do a follow-up poll review. We're at 36 votes now, and it looks like still the vast majority of you said not yet but interested. So I'm hoping that the discussion today helped a little bit. 3% of you said you've done Duet. 11% of you said you did Dual. And then 22% of you said not sure what the difference is. For those of you joining late, I did a little presentation at the beginning. You might have to go back in Team Replay and watch it. But I did define the differences between Dual and Duet. And then also the very basics of, setup and workflow, pricing, all of those kinds of things. So go back and rewatch the beginning when we're done here. All right, let's see. I think we have time for a couple more comments. Again, if you have questions, throw them in there. Caesar said to Trent, I know a few Who narrators who started with bottom-of-the-barrel microphones you will need to invest in order to get into this business. Yes, please. Voiceover Van Dien says, just remember it hadn't the like button. Did you guys remember? Yeah, do all the YouTube-y things, right? All the interaction, the like, commenting, all of that stuff tells the algorithm that you like me. And then, therefore, they push my face out in front of other new people who are searching for this kind of content. So if you find what I tell you to be entertaining at the very least, then please return the favor and do all the things with, interact with the video and things. And that helps push my algorithm out there and hopefully help someone else as well. So I've done my part. Please do yours. I appreciate it. Other than that, I think that's about it for today. So again, as always, these are for you. These live chats are for you. So if there's something you guys want to talk about, learn more about, something specific that maybe you think is a dumb question, but it's not, because there is no dumb questions, please ask me. That's what the comments are for. Leave your comments, ask your questions. And if it's a topic that I get a lot of the same question about, then it is something that we can make into a future live stream. So other than that, I will see you guys next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. And until then, see ya. Have a great day. Bye. Thank you for listening to She-Lancer Mom Entrepreneur with VoiceOver Angela. That's me. For more information about me, visit my website, voiceoverangela.com, or hop on over to my YouTube channel, VoiceOver Angela. Again, thanks for listening. Have a great day.